Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, I don't know if this is really going to be a very long review. Why? Because I hated this book. We are going to be reviewing The Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. I wanted to like this book. I really, really did. You know, I really wanted to like this book. However, it was awful. It was awful. I think my biggest issue with this book is everyone's awful. There's not a single likable character. And then to start with, when the novel begins, there's very little world building. So I'm not really sure the kind of world. I'm like, okay, is this her own creation or is this supposed to be Earth? As overrun with Titans and Greek gods. So there's no really kind of delineation early on. Clearly, I do figure out, you know, I'm like, okay, so we're talking about Montana and stuff, so really we're, you know, in our world, okay? But the world building really needed to be a little bit more solid because I kept finding, like, what kind of world is this? I kept asking myself that question, like, what kind of world is this? You can have an urban fantasy that's set in its own kind of world and still have like things like trailer park. You know, Patricia Briggs does it all the time. And there are other authors, you know, they've made their own world where it is their own world, but it's similar to ours, right? The same elements. That's what urban fantasy is, you know? I just couldn't stand it, honestly. I wish I had DNF'd it, but I read it for my friend's book club, so I did not DNF it. And yes, I sold it, my Fairy Loot exclusive edition, to my friend for what I paid for it. I'm like, I don't need anything extra. I just don't want this book anymore. And she bought it from me. Gina, here's looking at you. I hated this book. I really, really did. It was awful. She has no spine. Your main character has absolutely no spine for 90% of the book. I mean, Alexis is, you know, the book is called Blood of Hercules. But the entire novel, no one can quite figure out what she is. I'm like, okay, you definitely should have picked a different title then, because you've already given away the ending. Because it's supposed to be like this big reveal. It's not a big reveal. It's the fucking title of the goddamn book. But she has no spine, okay? Except in her head. Every time someone says something to her, she like tells them off in her head. And she's like, please just grow a spine and tell them off. And her whole thing is like, oh, well, I have a stutter. Like, who gives a shit? In fact, you telling them off with your stutter would make you even better. It would make you even cooler, right? All the characters are just kind of awful. They are absurdly cruel to her for absolutely no reason. I get the bullies in the high school. Like, that makes sense, you know. She lives in a trailer park. She doesn't even live in a trailer. She lives in a cardboard box. So, you know, she's homeless. She kind of, you know, doesn't have the greatest hygiene. I understand why everyone there is like picking on her and bullying her. But then you get to the, you know, the Crucible and the Olympians, and they're all like, yeah, our numbers are dwindling, but we're gonna have you all kill each other to get, you know, Hunger Games style into the Crucible, into the school. And you're like, what the? Your numbers are dwindling. You're excited that there's a female because females are very rare. And instead of just letting everyone into the school, they all have to kill each other now. Makes no sense. It's stupid. It is stupid. 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 Sorry. It's just really, you can tell. You can tell, like, you know, I don't like giving bad reviews, to be perfectly honest with you. But I just can't keep my mouth shut about this book. Like, I need to voice my frustrations with it because it just pissed me off. I'm like, I had such high hopes for it. I love Greek mythology. This book was just awful. And then you think it's going to be romantasy, right? the one smut scene at the end wasn't even anything. Now, I'm not one for smut. I've said that many times. But if you're gonna fucking do a smut scene, just do a smut scene. And again, she internalizes everything in her head, and it's like, okay, I get it. And then there's the dialogue. Yes, she sounds very much like a millennial. However, it reads like there's no editor. You can sound like a millennial, and the editor should still be able to refine it a little bit. Because as I'm reading it, I'm like, where the hell is the editor in this? Were they just sleeping on the job? Did they just not care? Did they think, oh, well, the book's perfect the way it is, let's just go ahead and publish it? Because she did self-publish first, I believe. I think. Before she was picked up by a major publisher. But I'm just like, where is the editor? Where is the editor? Did this book have an editor? I'm just so befuddled by everything in this book. I just couldn't stand it. I could not stand it. It pissed me off. It makes me angry. It's like whenever I talk about, gosh, now I'm blanking. The Last Jedi. Don't get me started on that. That's another thing that makes me angry. They did absolutely nothing with Finn's character. They're running out of gas. Sorry, tangent. Bringing it back. But that's how I feel when I think about this book. I feel like that. And that's a lot. That's a lot of anger. It was just a waste of my time to read this book because all the characters were awful. I couldn't relate to any of them. They were all awful characters. They sucked. They were not likable in the least. They were not charismatic. You can be a bad guy and still be charismatic. They were not charismatic at all. They were just dicks for the sake of being dicks. She doesn't stand up for herself until the very end. And again, also really stupid. She has absolutely no spine. She's like, Charlie's the one that's most important to me. And she doesn't fucking mention him at all to anyone. Her adoptive brother, who she's been taking care of, who's still living homeless. She doesn't mention him at all. Like, okay, yeah, he was so important to you. I just hated this book. We're going to leave it at that. This book is like 0 stars for me. If you liked it, I'm glad you did. My friend Gina, my best friend, the one who I sold the book to, absolutely loved it. And that's fine. You can like it. We listen and we don't judge. But personally, I hated this book and I thought it was a complete waste of my time. So there's my rant, my angry rant. I'm sorry for the little Star Wars tangent there. That's the best way I can equate my feelings. And if you know me, you know me. But it was just pointless to read this book. And I don't personally recommend it. But if you loved it, great. Kudos to you. I'm glad you did. I did not. In any case, thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, happy reading.